Sorry guys. Sorry for because our internet connection is poor. Anyway, I'll just repeat what I said. We have a very special guest today because she's really close to our hearts. We met her last year, but then the moment we got to know her, the moment we talked, it was like fireworks. Yeah, it's amazing because she's like our long lost sister. Anyway, I hope she joins soon. Where are you at, Simkah?
So we met her in Malaysia. We met her during a conference. I think she was the first one who approached.
So she sat beside me and asked, there she is. Hi ate, we're going to invite you again.
Is it working? I can't see myself. I'm so happy to see you because I don't see me at all. I'm good. How are you? I heard you talking about me. I have no idea what you were saying about me since my connection was so bad.
Same here, actually. So we told them that the moment we know each other, it was like fireworks. Because you remember me telling you that you're like our long lost sister.
I know. It felt like that from the very beginning already when I met you.
The connection between was like so great, and when we went home, I was like so crazy about this girl, and then I messaged her. At first, I was shy and telling her, I don't know what's the meaning of this, but I don't know. It's like there's an attraction.
Yeah.
Her spirit is just so sweet.
The moment she realized what was the meaning of her name, like it's the moment that it's like a eureka moment. You finally understand why you're so drawn to her. It's just the spirit of joy.
I'm sorry. The connection is still a little bit choppy sometimes, so I got something about my name and joy.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good. I'm sure you're saying great things about me, so thank you.
Anyway, let's start with the sister question. First of all, we just we want our viewers to know why we named this episode as Reconnecting. No, okay. Why we named this episode Out of the Mud? Like, so I think that was last year, I had a problem. I have difficulty connecting with other people and just showing who I really am and being friends with them because I felt like it's hard to connect, especially when there's a huge difference in terms of principles and belief standards. Yeah. So I was really confused and I don't know whether I should approach them first or at some point I was afraid because they might influence me, and instead of me influencing them, maybe I might compromise my beliefs and also I messaged at Simkah telling her, this is how I'm feeling right now. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to connect to other people, and I feel like there's a bubble that's covering me. So how to pop this bubble, and what do I need to do? And then she mentioned, about the mud thing. So is it okay if you explain it to them?
Then I explain. Sorry. Then I explained to you what the out of the mud part.
Yeah, about your friend telling you the illustration of being in the mud.
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, it's like a super typical feeling for Christians, especially ones who have grown up in a Christian family, in a Christian home setting and stuff, or have always, or like, for a long time been in the church bubble in a sense. It's not limited to those people only. What?
like the wall.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's not limited to those ones only, but I think especially the us who have grown up in Christian families and surrounded by this protective Christian bubble and stuff, I think we feel it like extra, where it's like you know that we're not supposed to be like the world, and you don't want to be contaminated by the world, and you don't want to be affected in a negative way, and you want to be the light, and you want to be the influence instead of people influencing you. And it's like you're aware of what's right, and you want to be responsible, and you want to do what's good and what's right and stuff, and then that sometimes can feel like a pressure, especially if you actually have that desire in your heart that you want to reach people and you want to love them and you want to bring Jesus to them, because you realize that, like, just like Jesus did with his life as well, like his life was constantly reaching these people. So you see it's so important to do it, but then you're kind of stuck thinking like, but how am I supposed to do that and not be affected? And so like the out of the mud thing, for me it really helped. It was now, I guess I was 20 or 21, so a few years ago. I was on a mission trip with from in Bible school, and the girl that I was there traveling with, one night we were just talking in our bedroom, and we were talking about our different lifestyles, or like how we've grown up so differently. Like I grew up in a very Christian protected home environment and stuff, and she grew up in a very crazy home setting where her father dedicated her to Satan the day she was born. So she grew up in that whole setting, and so she grew up with a lot of a lot of rough situations and like hard rock band concert things that constantly her family was taking her to, and I grew up in a very different environment. And I'm not saying that we need to go to all those, whatever place and stuff all the time, but one thing that she really that she told me that stuck with me so much was that when we were talking about how to reach people and stuff, and the fact that I was kind of like nervous, like how to reach people without being affected. And she gave this really cool picture that's like always stuck with me throughout the years. And she was saying that like if you have someone rolling in the mud, then I mean obviously they need help out of the mud. You don't need to go into the mud and join them so that they feel less awkward about being dirty. Like you don't need to go in and start doing what they're doing, but you can't be afraid of getting a little dirty when you're helping them out, because they're covered in mud. They're already dirty. So when you lend your hand and you help them out of there, you're going to get a little messy. You're going to find yourself in situations sometimes that are a little bit messy, that might, look a little dirty to other people. Try to understand what I mean. But so you don't need to like go in the mud, but you can't be afraid of getting a little dirty when helping someone out.
Yeah, that's right. I remember Jesus when he was sent here for us. He didn't put any boundaries between him and the people or the poor, right? Just like what he mentioned, the doctor is here for the sick and not for those who are healthy. So same goes for us. We're here to influence others and just be really a light and soul to them. And yeah, that's a good illustration that we must not be afraid of getting dirty, because we ourselves, like, we're also dirty at some point of our lives. So we must not judge. That's true. That's right. So
This question just popped into my head like right now while you were talking about reaching out, not being afraid to reach out your hand to the people who are currently in the mud. So like, there's this ringing question: is there like a gauge for us to know whether we are already capable enough to reach out our hand and not be pulled towards the mud, but to be able to lift that person up out of the mud? Is there like a gauge?
That's actually a really, really good question. But did you say gauge or age? What did you say?
Like gauge.
Like a level where you understand if you're there yet or not, or okay. That's actually a really, really good question. Yeah. Yeah, it's it's not always gonna look the same for everyone, I don't think. I mean, I think first of all, people need to remember that the very day that you're born again and you've given your life to God, your life is already different. And God you've given your life to God, and God made his home in you, and so you already have God in you. So the very moment that you gave your life to Jesus, that you gave your life to God, some like things have already changed to where the answer that the world needs lives inside of you from the very moment that you gave yourself to God, and he came and lives in you now. Like, you already have the answer inside of you. You might not with your head know everything, you might not know all the scriptures, you might not know what to do in every situation, but the God who knows everything and who has every ability and every answer, he lives inside of you from the very moment that you give your life to God. So I think that's an important thing to remember, because I think people often, we wait way too long because we keep going and going and thinking, I'm not ready yet. Like, I don't know enough yet. I don't know how to do this. I can't do this. I'm not so good at this. I don't know these scriptures. I'm not as strong as this person. But really, sometimes we like push it way too far. Like, it's some kind of a magical line that's coming in the future. Like, I can't do anything until I'm this good. But it's not really true, because like literally from the moment you gave your life to God, you have God living in you, and he is the one who's well capable of anything. That being said, I think also it's important to notice, like, it's important to be smart and follow God's leading and follow the Holy Spirit, and not put yourself into any stupid situation as well. Like, I think always, if you ever find yourself in a situation in life or in a setting where you notice that you are being changed for the worse, rather than you bringing a change into your environment, then that's a good moment to pull back and look like, I think something here needs changed, because either you really need like God's strength to be manifest through you fast, or um or you might need to just like pull back either a little or a lot, depending on the situation. Um, so like sometimes you find yourself in these situations where you realize, like, I really want to be a light, but really I'm changing completely. I'm changing in my moods. I'm changing in how strong I am spiritually. I'm changing in my desire for God instead of me, changing. So that's a good moment to realize, like, okay, something here needs changing. So you might need to pull back and ask God what to do. Sometimes I think he'll tell you to skip a certain area, or skip hanging out with certain people, because you're not going to help them right now anyway. And I think other times you might just need to, like, God will show you what to do, and you can stay where you're at and what you're doing, but he'll help you to change things to where you're actually affecting them instead of the other way around. So.
Yeah, that's right. I think I totally agree with what you said. There's no specific measure or imaginary line where you could tell whether you're already ready or capable enough to help others or lead them towards Christ. But the moment that, yeah, that's so right. The moment you receive Christ, it's already Him working in you, attracting other people, or um, leading you to help other people towards Him. So actually, it's quite. I just want to share. It's quite related to what I received earlier, because earlier we had this family prayer and worship, and one of at Cherry's songs during worship was about having a pure heart. Mm-hmm. And while we were praying, while she was leading in worship, Jesus just kind of, it was so strong in my spirit, the impression of how God is not actually looking, He's not so focused or centered or concerned about our abilities. Yeah. Rather, He's concerned and focused about our heart. So it just hit me right now. When we're trying to help other people out of the mud, God does not look at how capable are we to lift them up. Rather, He's looking at our heart to help these people out. Yeah, because it's not about, yeah, it's not about lifting them up, but it's not the Lord. And even during my prayer earlier, like, that's the very word that's being impressed into my heart. Like, it's in our weakness, it is Him who strengthens us, and like in our disabilities, He becomes our ability. So in our lack, He becomes our completeness. So even in the same way, when we are pulling person out of the mud, it's not actually our strength or our ability to pull them out, but our heart to help them. And God will be the one to just strengthen us to pull them up. That's what I think. Right? It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
okay.
I think that's something like, yeah. Yeah, but I think that's something like I'm noticing more and more the older I get, where I'm realizing like, I mean, I've heard it before as well, that God, you read the Bible, he tends to use the and look at your own life situations. He really often seems to use the people least likely, the strongest, no, not the strongest, the weakest, the smallest, the least likely, and he like likes to turn those people and use them in those situations and like powerfully come through and do all he wants to do. But what I was gonna say is like, I think something I realized, or I'm realizing more and more the older I get, is that, like, I mean, sure, it's great if you're able to do something and everything, but what I'm realizing is like, it's really not so much at all about our ability, like naturally of what we can do, but it's literally how much, or like learning to just obey, learning to just trust, learning really to just trust and have faith, that like getting our eyes on his strength rather than our strength or lack of strength, rather than having our eyes on us, our ability, or it can go into pride, or our inability, which can be like this false humility. It's not godly either. But really, you get your eyes on his ability and on his strength and on how amazing he is, and then you realize that no matter what I can do or what I can't do, he can do anything. And so if I learn to just obey through anything, no matter what my feelings or my thoughts, and if I learn to just trust him, like, I mean, I'm not going to obey without trusting him anyway, so I learn to trust him. I just trust him, and then I obey whatever he says, and I just have faith that I know that he's God, and I know that he's got everything under control. And so if I learn to just yield my life to him, he can do absolutely anything through me. So sometimes it's a process of learning how to do that, but but it's definitely not about our ability. It's about how awesome he is. So that's cool.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. He will really magnify himself through you, and he will just use you as an instrument for others to know him. But then the focus is not about you. It's not about your weaknesses or your strength, but him moving inside of you, and that's just really awesome.
Yeah, it is.
It's kind of related to what she said earlier. I was just reminded about, is it from Max Lucado's, like, when God looks at the center of the universe, he does not. Right? So when God looks at the orchestration of his work upon your life, this is also what our spiritual mentor would always tell us. When God looks at his mandate over your life, he does not look at you and your abilities, but he looks at the Christ in you. How much are you dependent on Christ? How much of Christ is manifesting? Because really, yeah, it's not about us. Lift others up, not leading them up to you, but leading them up to Christ. So I think the more you decrease and the more you increase, the more you get to help others to learn.
That's right.
Yeah.
So so for the viewers who are having a hard time reaching others or reaching God's word, this is something that you need to hear. Just don't focus on yourself. Don't focus on your weaknesses. And just focus on God. With that, for our next question. So, could you like give us practical tips on how do we mingle with others based on your personal experience? How do we be with them, present with unbelievers, but still at the same time be guarded in our hearts? Practical tips. Like how not to compromise our beliefs.
How not to compromise. I don't know how to be with them. Be yourself. Like, that's a good question. I don't know how to answer that one.
And like be yourself. Exactly. Yeah.
Like, How to be with them? I mean, yeah, I think definitely. I think that that's something we also often do way too much is we overthink it. Like, be yourself and trust God and like use the opportunities that come. If you realize you don't see that many opportunities to share God or whatever, then ask God to have more opportunities, to get more opportunities, or to see the ones He's actually giving you. Sometimes we don't even notice that we have such amazing opportunities to like share Him or whatever, how to be with them or how to be with people and stuff. But I think like practical things is like be yourself. Don't start changing for them. Like be who you are and just I know that's like it sounds so easy to say because sometimes people have like a really hard time being a Christian like openly in front of other people, but I think at some point it really just comes down to like your choice. Like what's most important to you? Like I've had plenty of times in my life where it does not feel comfortable or it's hard or in certain times it feels embarrassing or whatever. But I realize like it's like I have to stop and think what's most important to me. And if for me God is more important than what people think and stuff, then it might be crazy hard sometimes. But I have to learn in like every situation to put that aside and still be fully me, the Christian me, the God-filled me. So like I don't hide away who I am. I don't hide away what I believe. I mean, we don't have to smack people in the head with the Bible all the time. Like we can be smart in how we talk, but I mean, I wouldn't hide who I am. I mean, practically be who you are. Don't hide the fact that you're Christian. Say that you're Christian. Ask, like at different times when someone's talking about, some kind of a problem or they're sick or whatever, great opportunity. Ask them if you can pray for them. Like I've done that a ton at my workplaces. Ask if I can pray for them. Sometimes it's really hard. You're like, what if nothing happens? And I'm like, I don't care. The Bible told me that you lay your hands on the sick and the sick will recover. So at some point it just comes down to like choice. Okay, like how do I want my life to look like? And you just start taking steps in that direction. I don't know. Did that answer anything?
Yeah, you really did.
Honestly,
Okay.
Yeah, you're because like,
the moment you said be yourself, then
yeah.
that's it. As simple as that. Like,
yeah, because many Christians, like many believers, and myself, we
hmm,
complicate things too much and be like,
overthink. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. The moment we receive Christ, and then He will just lead the way. He will tell us where to go, just like in the case of Moses. He was the one who told him what to do, what to say, where to go. So yeah, we don't need to complicate things. If God tells me to go to these people, whether they're sinners or whatever,
yeah.
just go.
Right?
Right?
I think there are just two things I gleaned from what both of you said right now. One is because I've experienced this personally. There are times wherein I tend not to help others out of the mother. I tend not to speak His word over another person's life or a friend in need. I'm so sorry, Lord, because I'm like, yeah, I'm quite afraid that whatever I might speak might not come to pass. If ever I pray for a friend's healing out of depression, and then instead of her receiving joy, she just plummet more into being depressed. So it's like sometimes I fear praying over a person because I fear that
It
my
will
prayer
work
might not, yeah, my prayer might not
for that person.
come to pass. But
Yeah.
then, I, yeah, but then the truth of the matter is that we are we are not responsible for like proving God's word,
No.
His existence, because God Himself is already existent, whether we prove Him or not. He does not need us validating Him and His word over other people. Like, yeah, you're so right. You just follow whatever He tells you to do, whether it is done according to how you expect or not. He will do it according to His standard. So whether it is in line with what you expect or not, you just go and obey. I should not fear validating or invalidating him because I have no power to do so. He himself is God. Whether my prayer was answered yes or my prayer was answered.
Yeah. I think sometimes, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah?
No, go first.
No, I think sometimes it would be a whole lot easier for our flesh, our appearance, wanting to look good and stuff, if we can always guarantee exactly what will look like in every situation and what will always happen and stuff. It would be a lot less embarrassing sometimes, because, yeah. But yeah, I guess like in those situations, again, it's putting your faith in God's ability and not your own. Because, yeah, like you said, he hasn't told us to, like, prove or make sure that something happens or whatever. Like, he told us to, like, lay our hands on the sick people, and and that they will recover. But, like, it's not literally like our power that does it. It's God through us. So what he needs is obedience. He needs an obedient heart, someone who's willing to do this thing, someone who's willing to sometimes look weird, or because sometimes you have different situations where it looks one way, like, and you're not always going to look good when you obey God. You're not always going to look or be popular when you obey God, but he really needs someone who's willing to do that no matter what they look like, because it's through that obedience where he's able to do, like, all that he wants to do. So, yeah, it's a really big thing to learn.
And then learn a lot of now, like, while we're talking.
Praise God. The thing that I want to say and add, just like what happened to Jonah, I remember while you were devoted for it a while ago, when God sent Jonah he sent him to Nineveh, and then Jonah was like, I know what will happen here, God. You're gonna back out your plan, and then because you love the people so much, so you won't really do anything to harm them. So nah, I'm not gonna do it. So the pride kicks in. It's like, yeah. So it's hard to obey because you know that your reputation is at risk. But then it's not about us. It's not about us. It's totally about him and his plan for the people. Whether your words are validated or not, whether they come to pass or not, it's up to God. You just have to follow him. And the funny thing, the moment we accept Christ, the moment we say yes to him and to his will, he will always send us to the places that we're most afraid of, or like to the people that we're unfamiliar with and we're really uncomfortable talking to. I don't know. That's my experience. Like, the moment I said to God that, God, okay, I surrender everything. I'm all yours. And then he just told me, okay, then go to this university. Like, wait, whoa, come on, these universities. No.
Yeah. If we can just get over ourselves, that would really help a lot.
Yeah, but I think with all these moments wherein the flesh would manifest, then God would, like, show us that the self should not manifest, and there would be pain and all. It's actually beneficial for our spirit because it helps us realize more and more how to receive more of Christ and lessen the self. All these situations wherein the pride would manifest, then you'll feel humiliation and all that. Like, all this, it's part of manifesting the Christ.
In the process, you will learn how to love the people. As you go along, as you obey Christ, you will understand why he is telling you to do these things, why he's telling you to reach out to these people. Instead of, let's say, hatred towards them or pity, God will turn it into love and compassion, not just for the poor, but those who are sick. And that's really amazing.
It was choppy, so I caught maybe about 30% of what you said, but good, okay. But you looked so lovely when you were saying it, so I'm sure it was great.
Okay, actually, compassion for other people. Just last month, I think, in our church, it was being discussed how in the coming days, when God will finally call us back to Him, He would actually look at the seeds that He planted in us and whether these seeds became trees. Like the things that God entrusted to us, we would account to God whether we were able to grow this thing He has given us. And one of the things that I just like that hit my spirit so bad, but compassion for other people. Like when we receive Christ as our Jesus, Lord, God, and Savior, we receive His likeness, Christ's likeness. And when you read the Bible, you would find so many stories about Him being compassionate toward other people, like Him eating with the sinners, Him like placing Himself in the midst of other people to manifest God. But then it hit me so bad because I realized, even though I have been a Christian, the compassion for other people has not manifested so much. And then, so the following day, after our preacher talked about the seeds and all, I went to God and asked Him for compassion because really I realized that I lack carrying other people in my heart. Like I lack opening myself up to other people. So it's just so amazing how instant God answers us during this season. Because the very night I prayed about compassion, God gave me a scenario that called for me to share His word to my classmate who is not totally into God, but then it's just amazing how God orchestrates things. Like I was so hesitant because that person is like not very open before, and then him orchestrating this stuff happening the moment I prayed for compassion for other people. It's like, yeah, if God will just see your heart, He will be the one to put the situation or orchestrate the stuff for Him to manifest Himself and for others, for you to be able to influence others.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was long.
No, but it's actually interesting that you brought up those two scriptures because it was like towards the beginning of the call, I was literally just thinking of the same thing when we were talking about something else. I was thinking about all the places in the scripture where it talks about the fact that Jesus, what was it? How do you quote it? Jesus having compassion, then He did this and this and this. Jesus being led by compassion, like that compassion led Him to do things. Like he had to like overcome different feelings or different thoughts or different like, what's this person going to think about me or whatever. He was overcome with compassion for people, seeing that they were in pain and that they were sick and that they were hurt and that they were lost, that they were confused, that they were depressed. That like His compassion and His love for these people outweighed anything that would have held Him back, because He had so much compassion that made Him take action, not just pity them and be like, oh, you poor people, but it's like He had that compassion and that love which made Him actually be like, I need to do something now. No matter what my feelings, my time schedule, no matter anything like that, I need to reach this person. I love this person. I need to help them because they're in the mud. So, yeah. Yes, to tie that in there. But, yeah. Like, I was just thinking, what was it, yesterday or something? I've had I've had several different opportunities where like for instance these different times where I've been around somewhere in town, like walking somewhere on a bus or doing whatever, and you have these people, like, okay, for example, in the summer sometime, like I was walking home and you had this elder woman. She was like, I don't know, looked to be like in her 50s or something like that. And she was so drunk. I mean, she was so drunk. And she was with her bike and she was on the street and she was like, she looked so lost, and she was alone, and it was smack in the middle of the day. It wasn't like night or anything like that. And she was just there, and she was so drunk, she was just kind of like losing her balance. And I was seriously thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, is she supposed to, like, how is she supposed to, like, stay standing up with that bike and everything? I didn't want her to get hurt, because, I mean, people that drunk, you know, they can fall down at any point, you know. And the bad thing is, like, I don't know how it is in the Philippines and stuff, but, like, here it's so embarrassingly often where you see someone who falls and gets hurt, or especially if it's a drunk person, like the people who, like, the others try to avoid. And if someone falls and gets hurt or something, the amount of people that you see seeing the situation but just passing by is like, oh, like, oh my gosh, like, why? Do you have no compassion at all? You can't, like, ah. Anyway, but this woman, so she was like on her bike and she was so drunk, and I was just thinking, like, okay, like, I can't just leave her like that, you know. So I went to her and as trying to talk with her, but you know, she couldn't catch everything because she was drunk. And but I was trying to understand, like, are you trying to go home? How are you gonna get home? Like, are you know, trying to get her to just sit for a second. And so, like, we just ended up talking, and like, I had to kind of overcome a little bit of what do you call it, like, pride of not pride. I wasn't really, but kind of like, what do I look like in this situation to other people when I'm helping that person who's in the mud, you know? Because then you just, like, passing by, you have other people who are looking at me talking with this person, and it's like automatically they give these weird looks as if I'm, you know, I'm like besties with this person here, and that automatically made me look bad, you know. But I was like, why am I supposed to care what you're thinking when you're passing by? You're not even doing anything to help this person, you know. So anyway, so I was just there and sitting with her and talking with her, and she just started, like, opening up and sharing her heart and talking about things that went wrong. And I guess she was drunk because of that, because she was sad and stuff, just different things that went wrong. And something about, like, she just started opening up, like, secrets pretty much about her family and how her son is in the mafia, and that it's brought, like, so many problems and things. And she, you know, and you could see this woman was just, like, so sad and so broken and so lost. And I got to share God with her and keep her away from that bike for a while. So I was standing there for a while, but, like, I mean, that's a very small thing, really. That doesn't really take that big a chunk out of you. But I think even, like, if we can just learn to show compassion with those things, or the compassion that's in our hearts, like when we notice people, whether it's on the streets or wherever, like, if we notice people, and especially, like, if they really catch our attention and we just, like, don't have peace to go on, you know, like, you really need to grab hold of those opportunities and go to those people and talk with them, and believe that God will give you the words to say, and open an opportunity to pray for them, to share the gospel, or whatever. Like, compassion that leads you to do stuff.
True, that's right. Yeah. Especially here in the Philippines, because there are lots of beggars on the street, and then instead of compassion, talking about, most people would say that why would they just work? They
Criticism.
have, yeah, criticism and judgments towards these people. And there were people are like, they could still work. They have their both hands, and they're capable. So why not just work? So as I'm hearing these comments, it's like, is it really hard to love these people, and instead of judging them? I know at some point, I've been there as well, but then after I realized that people have different problems, and then for them it's on the basis of financial. So instead of being judgmental or criticizing them, why not show them love and, teach them how to fish? That's how they say it, right? Maybe you could lend them some money and then teach them to, let's say, start a business or something. That's being so generous. But my point here is, instead of criticizing them or putting the blame on them. We need to understand their situation. If we're on their shoes, we might also do the same thing. And yeah, I remember a kid running towards me. At first, I won't deny because I was wearing my uniform was all white, so I'm wearing a white uniform, and then a kid hugged me, and he was crying out loud, and he was saying, "Mommy, mommy, why did you leave me?" I was like, "Who are you, kid? I don't even know you. Why are you hugging me?" So I don't know what to feel. Should I be shy at that moment because people are looking at me and they're judging me, and ask if that's my child. So at first I was embarrassed, but and then I also thought, wait, I'm this is a white uniform. The bird, yeah. And but then after calming, yeah, and then God spoke to me saying that you're all equal. You're all my children, brothers. So yeah, it hit me. That's right. I shouldn't feel that way. I shouldn't be embarrassed of the situation. He's calling his mom, so probably he got lost or something. So really, compassion is the word. Instead of criticizing, instead of judgmental, instead of thinking of what others might say at the moment that you're helping someone. Really, all those things doesn't matter. But what matters is your heart for the people and how God sees you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Towards compassion part. No, general, not just compassion, generally speaking. Because I'm not sure if I'm the only one. Have you guys also experienced feeling wherein you're like in a group, going back to our topic before, like when you're in a group surrounded by different people who carry belief systems or standards different to yours. You're in a group of unbelievers, basically. There are times wherein you kind of feel, at first, this is how I felt, like I kind of feel so empty. Even if just being with them during our conversation, I really feel so empty. And then there was this time where I went home telling you how sad I was, grave I was, because while being with them, I feel so much heaviness inside of me.
Vacuum.
Not just the vacuum, more like while I was with them, I kind of felt their emptiness because the way they spoke, like you could sense it. Like they were so unsure why they're doing this stuff. They're so unsure what to do next. They're so unsure with the situation, and then some are filled with murmurs and like complaints. So it's like just so so heavy and empty at the same time. And then I went home telling Ate Cherry how sad I was because I felt the grave emptiness that my tears were feeling. And then at the same time, I felt so helpless because I couldn't find the right timing to open up about Christ. So this is also just like a pressing question. When you're faced with that situation from my ates, do you have like a tip on how we could open up,
Encourage them.
encourage them, like without sounding so righteous? Yeah,
Self-righteous. Sorry. I meant because I think that's how they see it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's just when you're in that same. Sorry, I was asking, but I kind of also received the answer just now.
But maybe
Yeah,
you
but
wanna
you
listen.
wanna-
I wanna listen to Simkah. Do you have?
No, I'll fill in, but what were you gonna say right now? Since you got it.
Oh, okay, sorry. It's just hit me because I said that I was so. My line was I felt so brave while I was in that situation, right? And then when I said the line, it was like, oh, because you were in that situation. Like our mentors would always tell us that we should always place yourself above, like in the perspective of God, like bird's eye view, wherein you see the full thing. You're not stuck with the people you're with. Like you're not stuck in the situation you're in, but you will. Yeah, you will.
Yeah, that's right.
So if I only had that kind of perspective back then while I was in this, maybe I would.
You wouldn't sound self-righteous?
No, I
No, but we understand what you mean.
Sorry?
No, we understand what you mean, though.
Yeah, thank you. But that's the thing. I did not open up. Like I did not have
The
courage to say,
speak up.
yeah. But then, if only I had that perspective, I would have seen it. This is God's.
Okay, let's hear it from Simkah. What is it that you want to say or add?
Yeah, let's hear from you, Simkah. I'm like, okay, so how to help those people in those situations without sounding self-righteous?
Or judging them, like in relation to
Judging.
Yeah.
Just don't judge. It'll help the atmosphere. Like, don't judge them. Then it'll feel less like you're judging them. Yeah, good question. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
You what?
Is it like a sweet rebuke, something like that? You're gonna rebuke someone, then sweet rebuke. You're gonna rebuke someone with sweet words. How's that possible?
I don't know. I think I'd only rebuke them if I really felt that was the way. Otherwise, I don't think that's my way I would choose in the beginning. Well, I don't know. Like, I think first thing I would remind myself in that situation is, like, yeah, you don't need to be self-righteous, and yeah, you don't need to judge them. But in the same time, I can't let myself lose confidence in what God has told me to do and who He has said that I am, and the things that He can do through me, just because I'm scared of, seeming too religious, or I'm scared of seeming too, self-righteous or judgmental or something like that. Because if God has actually given us the answer that will help these people, then we can't shy away from sharing it. Even if it means that sometimes people, even if it kind of looks, or sometimes people will take it as, oh, you're judging me. Like, as long as you keep your own heart pure and make sure that you're not actually doing things in a judging way, and you're not coming with that, like, a bad attitude, like, oh, I'm going to put you in your place now. Like, you keep your own heart pure and stuff. But you can't water down the truth or not present the truth at all simply because you're afraid of how they're going to take it. So, I mean, if God puts something on your heart to say or do, the best thing to do is to say it and to do it, and not be scared of what it's going to look like or sound like. In the same time, yeah, I mean, I don't think I would come with some crazy complicated Bible lingo to a person who doesn't know anything about the Bible either. Like, I think just showing compassion and showing love like Jesus did goes a long way. You be yourself, do what you know to do. If God puts something specific in your heart to do or to say or to offer prayer or something like that, then do that, and don't shy away from those things. But I think otherwise, I mean, just loving the people, show them that you care, listen to them, and as you're listening to them, then listen in your own, like, inside as well, and see what God has to say to this person. You can always, if you don't know what else to do, you can always offer a hug, a shoulder to cry on, someone who's there to listen and to just, you're there. Because a lot of people won't even do that, they're too afraid of getting messy, either emotionally or what it looks like to others or their clothes or whatever, so, like, that already goes a long way if you're willing to just be with the person and listen to them if they're crying or if they have some kind of a problem or something, and just don't stress. Like in that situation, like don't stress about it. Just do the best that you know how to do, and do like tune in your spirit, like listen to what God has to say. But sometimes if you feel like you don't know what you're not getting anything specific to do, then just do what you know how to do what you know to do. Offer your shoulder, offer your hug, offer your prayer, offer your just love the person. How would you want to be loved in that situation if you're going through something crap, like if you're going through something hard? How would you want that person to respond if it was like the other way around? So yeah, I think overcomplicating it's gonna just make things complicated.
Yeah, but I kind of want to stress with what you have been saying, like listen to what God is putting in your heart and all that. So right, because maybe aside from the fact that I didn't know what to do, maybe I wasn't tuned in to listening to what God is putting into my heart. Maybe I myself was empty. That's why I felt their emptiness as well. Like maybe that's
like
a great
instead of
possibility.
focusing on that, we're so focused with the situation, what's happening now. And that's why you got so emotional, not emotional, but rather sad, and you were really affected by what's happening.
Yeah, that's right. I think I just want to stress and need for
But yeah, sorry, yeah.
I'm sorry, continue.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were in the middle of a sentence. But no, I mean, I definitely know the feeling that you were talking about of what it's like to be amongst a group that is different like that. Their morals are different, their life is different, their beliefs are different. And you want to give God to them. You want to offer God. You want to, like, you want to let God who's in you out to these people to meet their needs and to answer them, because you see that they're in need and they're pain and they're sad and all this stuff. But it's like one of the most frustrating things I've ever gone through in my life, when you realize yourself in a situation where you care about the people, you want to reach them, you want to love them like Jesus does, and you feel like, I don't know what to do and I don't know how to get through to them. Like, seriously, that's like one of the most frustrating things, where you realize you have the answer and you don't know how to get it through to this person who's in need of the answer. So I definitely know what you mean, and I've had plenty of those situations as well. And I think, like, especially in work and stuff, and the different what like,
I am not alone.
No, you're not alone, and even the two of us, it's not only the two of us either. I'm sure a ton of people have felt this. But no, I've had that opportunity. I've gone through that a lot myself, especially in like different work settings that I've had and stuff. Like some places, more hard than others, but where it is like that, where you, especially the longer you're there, the more you care about these people, but you're just not exactly sure like how to get that across. But I think, again, in those situations as well, I would do the best that I knew to do, and I would pray a lot. I've prayed so much for my colleagues. I've prayed and prayed and prayed for years. I've prayed for different ones, in different ways and stuff. And regardless of whether I see all of that stuff or not, I know God will answer those prayers, and I know that He is able to do so much simply because I prayed and I gave myself to pray for those people. But I think, like, a lot of my own frustration, again, could have avoided, I think, a lot of that if I would have just built myself up and remembering how strong God is, and getting my eyes just on how able He is and how strong He is, instead of just thinking of all the things that I suck at. And sometimes, you just think about like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, and I can't reach that person, and I don't know how to talk to this person, and I sound like an idiot here. And when you think about all those things, then seriously, that that is hard, and that is heavy, and that is quite pathetic and sad. And I know the feelings. I'm not judging anyone who's been in that or who is in that or anything like that. But I think if we learn to like just by choice and we start reading the scriptures that talk about God's greatness, that talk about God's power, that talk about everything that He is and all of His ability. If I start focusing all on His ability, the more and more I fill myself up with that, the more it'll drown out all of my inabilities and shortcomings and all that stuff. And I think when you get your eyes on God and you have your faith in Him, it's going to be a lot easier for Him to actually come through and deliver, because your faith is in Him and not your lack of faith, and you're so focused on your own self. But actually, when I was saying all that like a minute ago as well, about praying, I think one really important thing for us to remember, is that we don't see everything. Like we're not going to see everything that's going on inside the person. Sometimes there's so much more going on inside of these people that we're wanting to reach, or the people who have different beliefs than us and stuff. Oftentimes there's so much more going inside of them than we realize. They notice a lot more about us than we realize. They catch a lot more than we realize, and God is working in them oftentimes, especially when we're praying for them, so much more than we realize. And we're not guaranteed that we're going to see all the fruit of our prayers all the time. Sometimes we're gonna spend a lot of time praying or sharing the gospel or doing all these different things, and it's going to bear fruit at some point, but we might not see that. And so our faith can't be in the fact that, oh, I haven't seen it, therefore nothing has happened. Like, you have to trust God that whatever you're doing, He's going to be able to use that. Either, maybe it'll come, you'll see it now, maybe you'll see it later, but He's going to be able to use that. And so don't get so stuck on what you're able to see or what you're not able to see, because oftentimes it's so much more or different than the visible anyway. So I think that's a really good, important thing to remember.
Yeah. So, like, there's this song that says, even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working.
Yeah. I got this song in my head now. It's a good one.
Yeah, I love that. And I totally agree with you when you said that we mustn't focus on our enemies. Because I was just reminded with how we were so hesitant in doing this, having these authentic stories, or even the authentic sisters for the YouTube channel. I was like, God, because honestly speaking, we are not fluent in English, or our accent is totally bad, and we're still.
I love the way you speak.
We're very Filipinas. So anyway, we don't know how to compose our thoughts, because our thoughts are going here and there.
Yeah.
We don't know if it'll reach the people or.
Are we live now?
Yeah, we're live again.
Okay.
Let's message Ate Simkah.
So, I think we were so talkative. Hi, Ate! There, she's here now.
Okay, add her. Yeah.
Okay, explain what happened.
Is she there?
What happened?
We reached the very time.
Oh, the time limit.
Anyways, I would say, so at first we were really hesitant with doing this, because we are so focused with our inability, saying that we're not good and people might not understand us, blah blah blah. But you're right, we must really put it on God's hand and let Him do His work, because even though we're not aware, he's really working.
Okay. So Ate, we just really want to thank you for everything that you've shared with us. But like to wrap it all up, we have this question for every authentic friend we have in our stories. So if we would ask you,
It's a question that I'm scared of right now.
If there's a word that you want to be remembered as, what would it be? What word would it be?
what word are you?
Yeah, I think I'm about to scare everyone because like I have a word. You know, I'm not saying I'm awesome at being this word yet, but if I would have a word, that would be the word. So are you ready?
Game! Drum roll!
It's not just a word, it's a name.
Oh.
Jesus. if I've spent so much time thinking on that, and I was like, wait, if I actually had to choose a word, not that I know that I'm awesome at, but a word that I would like to be remembered by, I wouldn't want to be remembered by anything less or more than that. Just Jesus. I would like people to meet him when they meet me. But, so that would be my word if I were to choose one.
Woo! That's so great.
That next person. Yeah, good luck with that one.
So anyway, we're so glad to have you, and we're really happy to see you again. And for the viewers, once again, this is our beloved sister, long lost sister. Yeah. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the viewers. Thank you for tuning in, and for you, Ate Simkah, thank you for giving us your time, and also for answering our those difficult questions. More on queries. Thank you. We appreciate it. We learned a lot, and we miss this kind of programs. Yeah, we can have more of this.
What?
Your youth camp, is it a youth summit or like a conference? That you
What about it?
Congratulations on your youth camp.
I loved it. We have the. But thank you, girl, so much for inviting me and having me, and for all your good words that you shared about me in the beginning, which I didn't hear, and I need to go back and listen to.
This is the hard part, ending the conversation. This is one of the hardest, really hard.
Alright, but you hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. We just like click.
Let's reach the time limit again.
How talkative we are. We reached the, oh my god, we reached the time limit. Okay, but we're really serious now.
For real.
Okay. Thank you. Love you, girls.
So much, Ate. Thank you.
We miss you so much.
I miss you too.
For you as Jesus.
Okay, so once again, for all the authentic friends, thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
You will join us in our next
authentic story. So
once again, this is Ate Simkah, the coolest and the prettiest. Yeah.
my Wonder Woman.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.